Hello, everybody, and welcome to my pitch on historical engagement within Gateshead Riverside Park, a journey through time. We're not only going to look at my ideas for historical engagement and rejuvenation of the park itself, but also the wider context of Gateshead. For example, what have the opinions been, both past and present? What are my aims for the project? Who do I want the project to facilitate, and what will that active audience be? But also remembering the social context that we live in today. Over the years, there have been many opinions formed of Gateshead's area. Most famously, J.B. Priestley, in his book English Journey, stated that Gateshead was carefully planned by an enemy of the human race. A damning opinion, but an opinion that has lived on in residents' memory to this day. Esteemed writer Dr. Samuel Johnson shared his views in Parliament, stating that it was merely a dirty lane leading to Newcastle. However, these stereotypes have continued into the modern day. When I asked family and friends what they thought of the area, some of the phrases that came to mind were deprived and hardship, which is undoubtedly true, but someone also said Newcastle. And if you're not familiar with the area, it's natural to think that it merges into one under the umbrella of Newcastle upon Tyne. However, when we look more specifically into Riverside Park on online forums, TripAdvisor, that sort of thing, there were some very uneasy opinions. Overgrown and poorly maintained was one, just an A to B walkway. And also many people said it felt very unsafe. Now, these are the issues we need to solve. These are stereotypes that I want to break with my pitch today. So, my idea is a journey through time. It's an audio-visual tour showing off the rich and illustrious heritage of Gateshead. Utilising the mature woodlands of the Rabbit Banks, my idea will emphasise the balance of education, well-being, health, enjoyment, all whilst appealing to local identity and encouraging young kids to come in from primary school, secondary school, and then they can experience the area and bring that through when they have a family and show it off to their kids as well. What would this journey through time entail? Well, the tour will be an audio-visual tour integrating the current sculptures in the park, which there is a former project, but it would also add new features, including statues, historic exhibits, and interactive activities. However, I do want to take this one step further and add cafes, street food vendors, and even maybe a pop-up outdoor theatre where historical reenactments could take place. Really make the Riverside Park a destination worth visiting, not just a 30-minute stop off, but a place that people can come on for hours on end and enjoy different social activities throughout. However, unlike current museums and attractions, my idea would not be to utilise these conventional earpieces and audio devices that need upkeep and maintenance, but rather use loudspeakers and interactive displays to enhance the experience of visitors, which I will touch on a little bit later on. What would my aims be for my journey through time, this audio-visual tour? Well, I think most importantly, there would be health and well-being. After all, we have to enjoy this outdoor space, but also appreciate the benefits it brings. You can see that recent CABE study that found that 91% of people believe that public parks and open spaces improve their quality of life. Frankly, a statistic which we cannot ignore. But also I'd want to focus on interaction and participation. You could see there Raphael Samuel said, if history was thought of as an activity rather than a profession, then the number of its practitioners would be legions. A huge statement. It's easy for us as historians to get excited and interested in these topics, but for the whole population in many different age groups, I believe that directly involved activity is the best way forward. What will this journey through time entail? Well, I want to start off with Gateshead Roman heritage, a fairly early period, but it seems advantageous with Hadrian's Wall in such close proximity not to take advantage of it, especially as pottery and signs of a villa have been seen in Gateshead and the Bottle Bank where the Hilton Hotel stands today. I will also want to touch on the conquest of William the Conqueror and the subsequent battle on Gateshead Fell, now known as Lower Fell,
and also the coal and iron industry, which, as we know, is very prominent in Newcastle and Gateshead, and then Joseph Swan's work on the first light bulb and his work with Thomas Edison, which I will touch on more later. But also the Great Fire of Gateshead in Newcastle. We learned so much in school about the Great Fire of London, but actually the Great Fire of Gateshead in Newcastle saw many more people die. And also, I'd like to end on giving credit to the modern history that we are surrounded by, such as the Sage, the Baltic Centre, and the Angel of the North, the statue that you see when you arrive into the city itself.
Now, here are just a couple of slides of what I've put together just to show off the historical nature of Gateshead. So this was the Great Fire of Newcastle and Gateshead, 6th of October 1854. And like I said earlier, 53 people died, much more than what happened in the Great Fire of London. And with the fire breaking out in a factory and then next door to a warehouse containing 130 tons of nitrate soda next door, it's no surprise the damning effects that followed. What is such a shame, though, is the waterfront, the historic waterfront that would have been listed buildings upon listing buildings today, which really have brought some life down to this side of the river. And I think it's important to show off that historic heritage, even though it's not there today. We can still utilize that and maybe have what would have been and pictures and images and 3D mock-ups of what that riverfront could have looked like for people to enjoy and experience. Furthermore, Joseph Swan and the first light bulb, created in 1860 right here in Gateshead. And now he installed it in his own house, Underhill, and it was the first private house in the world to be lit by electricity. And I put emphasis on this because I think it's a really important point to harbour on. This isn't just some sort of everyday thing. This was a scientific breakthrough and one that the people of Gateshead should be proud of and want to show off. And I think we can incorporate this into the Riverside Park because an issue, as I touched on earlier, has been safety, maintaining that safety and maybe the desirability of the area. So it would need to be a well lit and well looked after place. But whilst we light up this park for those early evenings in the winter, we can also incorporate the education and the legacy of Joseph Swan to really integrate that balance. Of course, my audience in a realistic world would be everyone. We are incredibly lucky to have this huge, big, open woodland space in the middle of the city. It's got to be one of the only places in the world who has that. And as Gateshead has an older demographic, I think it would be important to encourage young families and children. They might want to pop down for the day, or this might be a selling point to move to the area. I would also try and invite local primary and secondary schools to participate, and maybe they could contribute to the display. So it's not as sterile, sort of maybe every month. It's updated regularly with new visions of what things would look like and new ideas and different games that the kids themselves feel like they've created and contributed to really push this local identity, one that they feel proud of. They want to take people to this park. So again, really making sure it's a destination, not just a stopping point. And of course, we have schools like Eslington Primary School and the Riverside Primary Academy nearby that could help them. Obviously, when designing a project like this, there are many practicalities to take into account. And as I said earlier, encouraging proud locals to maintain the park would be a big thing because obviously spaces like this cost a lot to maintain. But actually, when places become derelict and not enough money's put in the first place, that's when they sort of always fall short. But if it's some sort of grand opening, one that the people of Gateshead are proud of, that would make it less of a target for antisocial behaviour and littering. The rabbit banks, especially where the park is situated, would provide some sort of protection from the elements and probably the winds more specifically. And then bins will be present throughout, again, to deter littering, a problem that is very prevalent at the moment. And to keep people at ease, I think security cameras, as well as security guards roaming, it doesn't have to be loads of them, but just so everyone's aware that they're there would ensure the safety of visitors and sort of keep everyone at peace and be able to enjoy their time. But also, I want it to be an all access park. We have sort of education mixed in with enjoyment. So, cycle paths, disability ramps throughout would be very important for me to really make sure everyone can enjoy this new space and feel invested in it as a local. Now, I would have to look more into the costs overall, but provisionally, I think a low level starting point is £7 per person. But I think as it is an outdoor space, a park, a new area, I think being environmentally friendly is very important, especially with the rich ecology around Gateshead and the mud banks and that sort of thing. So I think if you travel by foot or cycle or public transport, one of those sort of three or four things, you could get a discount on your ticket. Now, thank you very much for tuning in and listening. I hope that all was enjoyable to watch. And if there's any questions, please do ask. Thank you very much.